is why Volkswagen, and what will Nokia bring to Volkswagen and other companies cannot?
The main reason we chose Volkswagen was because they are a German brand and Nokia is based out of Finland. So for production reasons, we figured that was the best brand to choose. Also, Volkswagen is a very broad spectrum type of car vehicle that we like to use. And then, what was the second part of your question? I'm sorry.
Why would Volkswagen choose Nokia as opposed to a lot of its competitors?
Well, Volkswagen has just recently acquired Navtex along with 3 other navigation sources, and in October of 2009 they launched a satellite which helps with their Audi Maps. So from there, they also they have the navigation technology that Audi would want to put into their cars, to put Audi vehicles on top of maps so that they could really monopolize on the price. And Navtex with Nokia has the resources that for a navigation system to be profitable.
Thank you. I thought you did a nice job. I do have 2 questions for you. One on the emerging markets. You didn't speak at all to the real competition you face from the low-cost providers coming in. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
I think what I was explaining with the slides, essentially to test out the market, then any kind of developing nation, there will be a part of the market that can afford something at a higher level. It's not the middle part of it, it's more of to test out the marketing. It's to see the partnerships. It's kind of like the beta phase of the partnership. You don't want to say, hey, we're going to launch with this huge production line of cheap phones, and we're going to go and sell it every single place in the country. It's more of a way to test the demand on a higher level of the market. And I kind of see it as like similar to like Apple launching the iPhone, pricing it at $600, really to see what's this demand for this smartphone and the features. And price it at a higher level to start off.
And so then are you looking at a segmentation within developing?
I really see it similar to like a beta phase to test out the market rather than a segmentation. But if it turns out that there's 2 segments in the market and there's both the higher tier, like high price phones that you have in the Western nations, if those also work in developing nations, then I don't see why not there could be 2 segments.
I guess my question is, what percentage of these developed nations will your beta phase start with? And will that be a good representation to know if we should really go into the developing nations and target the lower end of the spectrum? In addition, the needs of those in the different segments are different, and so how do you test that with your first phase?
Yeah. I mean, any type of testing, initially they have to, like there's a whole process involved, of course, but the plan now would be to test out 1 or 2 countries in order to go and give surveys to others, see what the price points are that actually work out, and then kind of move on from there.
You mentioned to shed the existing partnership with Siemens and to move that off of a partnership with Ford. Did you give any consideration to repurpose that for emerging markets bandwidth rather than shedding it rather than going to satellite solution?
Sorry, what do you mean by repurposing?
Could they use that in order to grow out their 3G network instead?
I mean, if the employees who are working in the network equipment and also then working in this other market, then I would see that work out. But it's network equipment versus like kind of retail phone sales.
But one of the strategies you talked about was using a satellite to service the emerging markets because I'm assuming you need bandwidth for that, correct?
Yeah, network equipment, that's like a, I guess, a business-to-business solution. So it's not really related to the satellite equipment and the actual satellite part of this, I guess, like strategy.
So they couldn't take that part of the partnership and use that to build their infrastructure strategy for emerging markets?
I mean, it's basically the certain employees that would actually be able to leave the Siemens partnership and then actually continue to work for Nokia under this developing nation strategy, then it would make sense. But otherwise, the employees don't work in that same segment, that obviously wouldn't do it.
As you move towards services in developing nations, how do you maintain a competitive advantage there? Because what prevents others from bringing along one-upping you with the services they provide?
I mean, we have a consistent record from Western nations in order to, you're referring to like cheaper companies that are entering the market. So we still have the existing experience in other countries. So as these other nations develop and as they demand more features and more services in their country, we already have experience in the West. And if we're afraid of an Apple or a Samsung entering this market, like we already have consistent low price points, which is still what's going to be necessary in order to win this market.
And just lastly, with your recommendation for Volkswagen, do you have specific statistics that show what percentage of the population own Volkswagen cars, and in the next 3 years, what the sales of Volkswagen cars would be? In addition, how many of those customers actually buy cars that include navigation systems?
Our plan is that Audis are already being purchased for the higher price points. That's why the navigation systems are usually just in the higher price vehicles, which is why we planned on starting with Audi first. And then based on the success, we're going to see if we could expand it into the entire Volkswagen brand. But we're going to kind of use Audi as our test market in a way. And then from there, if it is then successful in the Volkswagen brand, we're going to try to expand into, like we said, Ford and Hyundai to see how we go from there.
And along the lines with statistics in the developing countries, do you have statistics that talk about the different market segmentations? If you're approaching smartphones within developing nations, what percentage of that buying pool does that represent?
Sorry, I didn't catch your question. Should please.
Do you have statistics that speak about the percentage of the market in developing nations that the smartphones will apply to?
So you're basically asking what is the percentage we will be able to get out of the smartphone market?
In developing nations?
Yeah, in developing nation. Okay. And as we mentioned before, in the developing nation, in the next 3 years, 52% will come from the enhanced phones segment, and then 22% from the smartphone with advanced features, and about 70% come from the entry-level smartphone. So we will actually focus more on the enhanced phones during at very first stage. Also at the same time, we will try to leverage our cost of advantage and existing experiences to develop a more affordable smartphones. Yeah.
Given the availability of Bluetooth to connect any devices, why would Volkswagen want to tie themselves to you, and what, more importantly, what prevents them, depending on the success of the venture, of jettisoning you for somebody else, or just broadening to be able to use anyways?
Well, our goal is to start off in Audi, and then once we're branded, we hope that it's like a staple feature. You want